Welcome everyone to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me as always. I am grateful to be here to talk about some really interesting things. Today specifically, we're going to talk about social media, and we're really going to look at it from the perspective of spirit. Now, this came from a question from one of you, but truly, this was a message that was brought through my guides in, again, I think it was either December or January, Cosmic Consciousness. And Spirit wanted to share their perspective of social media, which I found really interesting. And so when the question came through about it, I knew this had to be on the podcast because I knew this had to be a greater thought, that more ears needed to hear it beyond just those that join in Cosmic Consciousness. Now, just as a little caveat here, Cosmic Consciousness, if you want to dive into some really neat topics, sometimes high-level topics, deep dives, rabbit holes into different aspects of consciousness from Spirit, it is so much fun. So we host that once a month at Avalon Spirit, and I explore really cool concepts. It's always led by my guides, and it's a lot of fun. So you can sign up for that at avalonspirit.com under Cosmic Consciousness. We do have the next one happening next week, next Wednesday, so just something to consider. All right. So coming back to the topic today, social media. Now here's the interesting thing. When Spirit brought this forward, they were talking about the revolutionary change that we are going through right now, which is happening on our planet, happening within our consciousness. And they said that one of the biggest helpers has been social media. And at first I was like, okay, that's interesting because it also has such a negative aspect too. And they said, yes, absolutely, it does. That's the thing. So if we look at some of the pros of social media first, let's go with that. Social media and the way that it has been constructed allows for rapid communication, a rapid influx of information that people can access in a lot of different ways. And yes, we could definitely tangent that, we can't access this. This has been cut off. I'm talking about the general sense of it right now, okay? So it allows a platform for information to pass from one another really fast, because before that we would have to maybe do like Google searches. Before that we would have to wait to read it in the newspaper. Before that we would have to know somebody by word of mouth or a story or a legend of something. This construct that is social media has allowed for a revolution of communication. And in that way, it has helped to increase the speed of awakening for a lot of people. And the reason is you can see a lot of different social media platforms that talk about different topics, from UFOs, UAPs, to awakening in consciousness, to mediumship, to galactic energies, to quantum physics, to science, new medical technologies, or herbal treatments for things, more natural ways to treat something versus another. There's a plethora of information available if you can kind of search it. And people are sharing their personal stories, and that has been something that Spirit has always said is so significant, is the sharing of stories. If you think about it, that's how information has been passed down in ancient times, is the elders sharing stories and passing on their verbal knowledge and information down to different generations. And social media is allowing everybody the potential to access sharing their story. And when we hear different people's stories, we can hear all the different variation in different things. Again, whether it's medicine or consciousness or you name it. This sharing of stories is critical for the rising of consciousness. It cannot be taught one single way, which is why everything that I share with Spirit is not the only way. Right? Just as somebody else sharing it is not the only way. And I always say that to different people that I teach in courses. I say, this is but one way, and it's the way that works for me. I'm sharing the way that it works for me and that I understand. For you to take that knowledge, run with it, and morph it into how it works for you. This is one of the blessings of social media. We get to hear so many variations of things to help us discern what is right for our path. Because the truth of it is, the most important path is your path. The most important path in my life is my path. And that's not a self-centered thing. That is a soul recognition thing. It doesn't mean we need to be egotistical in there or greedy, selfish, but it means that we're honoring the pull of the soul. And so this is why social media has been such a blessing in that regard. It has allowed so many people to share stories, to help others feel encouraged to open up, feel brave enough to talk about or even recognize maybe things that have been happening to them. It has also invited people to ask more questions, to ask why. Why is it this way? Why couldn't it be another way? Why couldn't we do this, this, or this? And when we start asking why questions, we start to create in the realms of innovation. And in those realms, we then come to the ideas of change. And that's when things get really exciting. And so things start to kind of catch fire and can move and progress and grow. And so we've seen significant growth in consciousness in the last while. Even Spirit kept saying from 2020 to 2024 would be 100 years worth of growth of consciousness in the span of 4 years. A big part of that, I would surmise, would be social media as well. The access people have to different thoughts and ideas. And that social media, in general, again, for this statement, is not governed the same way that like a scientific body of research is, right? You can still express your thoughts and opinions, okay? And again, that's the general idea of it. Now, if we flip to the other side though, what's happening right now is this powerhouse that is social media is also a threat to those that don't want the rising consciousness to occur. Because this meeting of the minds of many, many different people with many different ideas without limitation, because it has such a high creative potential, creates massive change. And those that don't want us to rise in consciousness are fighting against the change. And that's when we get into where, you know, there is censorship and we can't talk about this or we're blocked by this. That's the attempt of those that don't want this growth to try and control it. The thing is with the rapid rising consciousness, there are ways around that, and there will continue to be ways around it because people are too smart now, and people are too hungry now that they've had the taste of consciousness, innovation, rapid access to knowledge, creativity, and all of that. They're too smart to be held back and be like, okay, sure, I won't look into this anymore. Again, I'm speaking in general terms here. I know we can totally run down rabbit holes. Now, the negative side of social media is that, of course, as you all know, everybody has a voice. So then you also have the voices of those that are trying to bring negative content to the surface, hurtful content, harmful content, ridiculous content to just confuse narratives. You also get those that are not very stable in, say, their knowledge or their practices, bringing information forward. And so it also creates this duality that can be very, very murky. And so what's unfortunate is a lot of younger people get caught up in the mix of that before they've had time to really come into who they are, right? Like there's a growth factor that happens, and what is it? And not until we're 25 do we have like our full functioning adult brain. And so if you inundate people in their teen years into the early 20s with social media, which is exactly what's happening, and you inundate them with knowledge and information that maybe is not accurate or not helpful, potentially harmful, you're impacting the evolution of their mind in a negative way. And you're also increasing so much pressure to conform, to be a certain way when they don't even know who they are. How are they supposed to figure out what they are when it is so in their face of how they should be? So then you have people sharing stories in a negative way, and that's not helping. And then you have people sharing information that is not accurate, that is fear-based, because again, this platform of social media spreads information very quickly. And if we're spreading the information that is negative, that is fear-based, that spreads very quickly. And unfortunately, our minds and our curiosity can often get hooked on negativity really easily. It's almost like sugar. For the body wants more sugar. It's kind of like the brain wants more drama. There's like a energetic hit. Some people will feel that and be like, ugh, I don't want anything to do with it. But it's unfortunate, a lot of people through different TV shows over the years that just like express drama, they're drawn into that. And they get drawn in like this distraction from their own conscious evolution. So on one hand, you have social media helping people to evolve and grow. And on the other hand, you have social media helping people stay distracted, disconnected from who they truly are, what they think, and perhaps following narratives that are very harmful, hurtful, scary, or ridiculous. And you have both. And Spirit said, this is why it is both helpful and dangerous in one sense, and this is why your discernment is so incredibly important. This is why you need to know thyself, like Plato said. You have to know who you are and what you're about to navigate the minefield of social media and to find the areas that help you grow and stay away from the areas that, harm you in your growth. Discernment is so key. Being able to feel the energetics of what resonates and what doesn't. And that's why Spirit talks a lot about resonance and frequency. The world is based on frequency. Our existence here is based on frequency, particles moving at different frequencies. Sound, light, all of these are frequencies. What we're starting to recognize, though, is that as we raise our consciousness, we're starting to interact with frequencies more and able to trust the energetics of things. So a lot more people now are starting to feel when something feels off versus when it feels aligned. And so if we really stick to that, we can navigate social media and have it be a profound part of our existence. But if we can't find that personal resonance, understand the frequencies, what feels right, what doesn't, social media can totally derail us. And that is so much a part of this world being created in duality and polarity. Light and dark is the essence of being a human on earth. We are meant to be here to learn through the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the triumphs and the pitfalls. And social media is an amped up version of that. And so coming back to the question, do they like social media? Do they agree with social media? The concept, yes. The access to share stories, yes, they do. But it's also a bit of a minefield to navigate that must be navigated with discernment and frequency. And so this is where we get to really come into the idea of conscious choice. And conscious choice was something that was brought to me very clearly when I had my near-death experience. It was this conscious choice of what do you want? What do you want to feel in any given moment? What do you want to do as a result of this situation? What do you want to choose? But, what do you want? And it's about creating the social media energies, algorithms that work for you. And so it's knowing what feels right, what doesn't. And we can say the same thing with anything, right? Discernment goes along with anything. We can even use exercise. We can't say that all exercise is good. Some exercise for some people is not good at all, while for others it is really good. For some people, running an hour is great. Others, that is going to completely put their body into inflammation, injuries, all of that. So again, it's discernment. So the same thing goes with social media. Use your discernment. Notice in your body what feels right, what doesn't. Notice, is social media taking me away from my life? Am I using it as an escapism? Am I avoiding dealing with my life, and am I busying myself with drama? Or am I feeding fear narratives into my body by watching different things over and over and over? Or am I using social media to teach me new things, to show me new ways of doing things, to encourage or support me in my new endeavors or my new life goals, right? It's about surrounding yourself with the people or the things that bring you in the direction you want to go. Social media can totally do that for you. You just have to be very choosy, very, very choosy. And so I think this is a really neat topic and something for everyone to reflect on for themselves. Spirit, for them, it is neither good or bad, it is both. And again, it always comes back to your choice, your journey. And that is one of the biggest things. Our free will on this planet is always honored by Spirit. Your free will is your most important thing. What do you want in this moment? What do you choose? Spirit can give us some insight, some advice, but they're never going to tell us yes or no, do this, don't do that. They might give us insights about, the high likelihood of this or the high likelihood of that, but it always comes back to you choose. What do you want to do because of it? So consider that as you navigate your world of social media. See how you can use it to your advantage to help you grow, and then also put some serious boundaries on the areas that don't help you grow, the things that don't feed your interests, because it is essentially an ocean full of all kinds of creatures, and you get to choose which ones you want to swim with. Do you want to swim in the deep, dark depths, or do you want to stay on the shores or in the tidal pools and play in there? So I will leave that with all of you. Thank you for the wonderful question. It was very timely, so I'm glad it was asked, and I hope this helps. Okay, one last thing. They're also saying, don't discount the times in which we are able to speak to you through social media as well. Now, again, this one requires discernment, so I was going to let you go, but they're showing me one more thing to talk about. You know those moments when you're thinking of something and all of a sudden you see a video that relates to the thing you were thinking about, right? Again, I use ladybugs often, so let's use a ladybug. Say Spirit, I need a sign that is a ladybug so that I know that I'm on the right path, right? And then you see a social media video of a ladybug. Spirit can use social media just like they do music, just like they do conversations that we happen upon, a conversation or a song happens on the radio, to help us navigate something, to feel reassured. Social media, though, also can put the opposite effect on that when algorithms are listening to things that we're typing in, to words that we're saying, and then they start showing you videos of, if you look up a pair of jeans, then you're getting tons of ads about jeans, right? So your discernment has to come in the form of, did I ask this question out loud? Did I search this particular thing or not? If you haven't asked it out loud, if you haven't searched it, but it happened upon you, Spirit can step in and bring those insights for you through social media as well. So sometimes it can also be this communication tool, but it absolutely requires your discernment in it too, just like anything else. So something to think about. All right, I think we're done now. So I'll leave that with all of you. Thank you as always so much. Please do feel free to share in the comments any other questions or things that you would like me to address on the podcast or in some videos. I love that. And I look forward to seeing you all soon. So have a beautiful rest of your week, everyone. I will see you next week.